Alrighty, so today let's look at, let's go into some settings and let's take a look at preferences and timing. So preferences and timing is where you can set the defaults for everything, and this can save you a lot of time. I actually didn't do this when I did my first couple shows on MA3, and it was a big mistake because it really did cost me, it probably overall added an extra hour to programming. And of course, you're going to need to do changes to each individual cue. You're going to need individual timings on cues, but having defaults and preferences set will make it a lot easier. I do a lot of cues and I'll just start them at 3 seconds for all fades and stuff, and so I can just get that in and then make other edits later when maybe I know, especially if I'm busking a show file. So lots of different things here that you can set. On this first one, cue, these are all your cue settings. This is where you can adjust the fades, the fade time, so fade and delay, right? If you always want to delay on a cue, which I don't, but I'll put like a fade of 3 seconds. That way I don't have to put a time in, so I can just go store cue 3 and will automatically put the time 3 in there, or store cue 2 and I'll put the time of 3 in there, right? You can also adjust your transitions here. I'll talk about these in a little bit. Transitions are basically how one cue moves to another. You also have different preset timings, so if you wanted to put a 3 second delay on a dimmer preset or something, or colors, you can do that here. They're also leaving more room for other things here that will come later. You can adjust your MIB mode. I always put mine to, well, depending on the show, I'll put mine either to early or late. You can adjust your fades. Usually for the fade, I'll put 2 seconds with a delay of 1 second, so it will wait 1 second before executing the MIB in 2 seconds. Going over to sequence, you have more settings here. MIB enabled or never. You can adjust the speeds masters for them, often overwritten. Kind of go through these. I won't go through all of them because it's, as you can see, quite a lot. Auto start, auto stop, tracking. So you can adjust if you want the default for tracking in that cue, or in that sequence, sorry. Time code, again, time code's still kind of being put together in MA3. It's not quite perfect yet, but you can adjust those settings in here. You can set your slots. You can, adjust the time display format as go, yes. Layout elements, you can adjust that here as well. Keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so keyboard shortcuts, I'm just going to talk about this right for a second. That's this little icon over here. If I tap it and it will go to red, and it will now essentially allow me to use my computer keyboard to execute these shortcuts. So this is quite handy when you're on PC, not really when you're on a console, but it can be. And you can also create more shortcuts as well. It really confused me because back in MA version 1.3, this was turned on automatically in the new update. So when I loaded it up into the console and I opened the show file, this was on and I didn't realize it. So when I went to name a cue, it started creating all these other cues and editing sequences, and I was like, what is happening? I'm just typing on my keyboard here. And that was a call to ACT lighting to figure out what's happening there. And then of course in timing, you can adjust the MIB timing. Right now there is not that much in here right now, as you can see, and you can adjust that back in the cue preferences anyway. But there will be more here eventually, and they're working on that. That is basically a quick overview of the preferences and timing section. They are working on this, and there will be a lot more in here in the upcoming updates. Follow me, subscribe. I will be putting a lot more videos out. I've kind of been taking a break for the past 2 weeks, but I am back and I am ready. So let's do this.